Hi everyone, more morning walks in the Ark. This is an alder tree. Let's step back a bit. It's a beautiful tree. There's one of the trees that is fighting disease is spreading across everywhere. But there's something about alder which I love, and it's this time of year, and I don't know if you can see it, but it has these lavender buds and the catkins are like lavender coloured. I just think they're really pretty, and there's kind of a grey hue off the wood. It's a really beautiful creature. So this is really cool. This is a little oak seedling which has been seeded by probably local jays. There's jays living in the kind of ark beside my field, beside this field. Much more developed, and I've seen jays hopping in and out of it, so, or AJ anyway. So I'm really glad to see this, and it's kind of unusual to see oaks coming up because they never get a chance really, you know. So it's really lovely to see this one coming up here, a local oak. There's those little creatures living on it. Don't know who he is, but he's pretty cool. It's a little ant. I can't really tell. I'm not great at the insects. You know, underneath this kind of curled up leaf, look, there's remnants of a little spider nest. So many homes for so many creatures everywhere, if we just share it properly with them. Learning to share, huh? It's a difficult lesson for most kids. So even though it's grassland that I've let go, and I haven't mowed it for a long time now, coming up through the grassland is lots of, I have to find some now to show you, but there's loads of little mushrooms, there's loads of little wild roses trying to find their way through, and brambles, loads of goat willow. One of the cool things is the shapes of the hawthorns, particularly. This is a hawthorn. You can see it's kind of wide. It doesn't have a central leader, central stem, and that's because hares love snapping off the tips of young saplings, and they got pretty much all of my hawthorns. As a result, they're going to be really interesting shapes, really full of character. I kind of love the shape of them, really, even though I know it's probably, I don't know, I don't see any harm in it anyway. I don't particularly like trees that are shaped like soldiers that you get from a nursery. Here you can see the goat willow and the bramble creeping in from the sides. There's a self-seeded ash, which is really good to see. You know it's an ash tree from, I'll show you the black buds on it now. When it has these really black buds, that's ash. And the hope is that these ash trees, like all the other plants that are suffering from the diseases that are wiping them out, maybe if they're allowed to live in a supportive community, like an actual ecosystem that lives above and below the ground and supports each other, that some of them will survive, and some of them will survive. Some of them will be able to cope with the virus, like the strong ones, and the strongest ones are, you know, no tree is an island, you know. They should be creating networks of connections with the community that they're surrounded by. So this one is living in a community. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be okay, and then it'll be a place to harvest ash seeds that are resilient. So we'll see how it goes. So far it's doing okay, and there are other ash over on the far side there that definitely have ash dieback, so we'll see how it goes. So just coming out of the ditches here, there's these long, see these guys? All the way through the grass, all the way snaking their way around. They're wild roses, really beautiful, wild little white flowers. I really love them, and there's loads of them on my ark. And there was only like one in the first year, and I kind of unsuccessfully took a couple of cuttings, and they just kind of laughed at me. It didn't make any difference. But I threw a few of the hips around, which is much more successful. Although this year I've done a couple of cuttings and I got 1 out of the 8 I took, I think. But cuttings are not as good as seeds because they're clones, and the stronger plants come from, you know, the seeds. Genetic diversity, evolution, all that stuff. This is my sea of dock. This is actually a little wetland. It would have been a pond, a ghost pond, and if I'd had the money at the time I would have dug it out to make another pond up here in the top corner of the land. But I didn't, and it's probably just as well because it's kind of an unusual little system of plants going in there. There's lots of equisetum horsetail and docks, red robin, all sorts of interesting things, so it's interesting to watch it. So thanks for coming with me on my ark walk. I see Claire from the forest garden has arrived to visit me, so I'm going to go down and have a cup of tea now.